Watch this video to be given the 3 proven secrets to stop any bad habit and become the person you were always meant to be.
If you want to learn more about having a more fulfilling life of intentionality and purpose, watch our show, subscribe, ring that bell to be notified every time we release a new video.
Secret number 1 is to change your environment. So James Clear, who's an author, wrote a book called Atomic Habits, one of my absolute favorites. It's a need to read. In his book, he talks about the importance of changing the environment around you. And one of the quotes that he shared was, in the long run and in the short run, your willpower will never beat your environment. And that really resonated with me because I can't tell you how many times I would try a habit like improving my diet or not eating bad food or not sleeping in late, and I would mess up and my response would be, well, I'm just gonna try harder next time. I'm just gonna want it more, and I would feel guilt and I would feel shame. The response would be, I will just bring more willpower to it. And I can tell you safely that after 10 years of trying to be an early riser, my willpower was never the game changer. But after reading that book, I made some simple changes to my environment. The number 1 change I did was that I put my cell phone across my room. So automatically to turn yes it was. Automatically to get up in the morning, I had to stand up, get out of bed, and by that point, it was that much easier to step into my kitchen where I already had my morning routine ready for me that signaled in my mind, hey listen, this is what we're going to do. And so by changing my environment, I became a consistent early riser versus someone who always slept in.
And speaking of bad habits and speaking of cell phones, that's checking your phone is a really bad habit for a lot of people. Not just, when we're talking with people and hanging out with people, but even when you're trying to get work done. For me, focus really comes with not having distraction. And so my way of changing my environment is removing things from my environment, removing things that are distracting. So that could be as simple as removing my remote for my TV if I'm working at home, making sure that's not a temptation to throw something on in the background and get myself distracted. Taking my phone, putting it in another room, because it's not enough to just silence it. If you can see it, there's evidence to show that just seeing your phone is distracting enough, even if it's not facing you, even if you can't see the alerts or it's not ringing or vibrating. So just remove that. Change your environment in a way so that it's conducive to getting your work done.
A lot of times you'll go in the bathroom and just throw it in the toilet and flush it down just to get your work.
I like to throw my phone out the window. It's very cathartic. Doesn't cost much.
It's nothing to me.
Saves on Frisbees. Another way to change your environment is to enter into a new environment where there aren't distractions like, I like to work sometimes from a cafe because there's no TVs there, I don't know anybody there, there's just internet for what I'm doing. And sometimes if I need to write something and I'm on my laptop and I really don't want distractions, I'll go somewhere where there's no internet and all I can do is type directly into my computer. And so the environment really strips away all the things that make you lose focus and fall into your usual distracting habits.
When he really needs to get work done, he goes into his attic and he goes into a little sleeping bag with a flashlight. And that's like when you're really...
I got some cookies and comic books and a flashlight.
Yeah, that's when you know it. Don't mess around. The second secret is replace the habit. It's not always enough to just not do the bad thing. You need to replace that time or energy with something better. So I know for me, one of my struggles has been lately social media. I'm very busy with work, and yet any kind of downtime where I could just unplug and get recentered, I am on social media or messaging, and it just left me feeling very drained by the end of the day. So I put restrictions on my phone so I could only have those apps for so long. And yet, even though that was happening, I would still basically go against those restrictions and look at it anyways. And so I realized I need to have a replacement over the bad habit. And so I created this list. I had this list of basically 20 things, 20 items or 20 tasks that I could do within 10 minutes that would be a replacement for social media. So one of them was, go for a walk, meditate, make a healthy snack. And
methamphetamines, popping bubbles, smashing things.
Again, it's in those moments, it's difficult to think of what I could do that would be better. So having that list to go to and be able to just pick and choose makes it that much easier. And so now I have something that I can look forward to. And ultimately, here's the best part. I'm still getting that dopamine hit, right? A lot of what our bad habits are about is the dopamine hits we get from doing the thing we shouldn't. So when you just say, okay, I'm gonna have no dopamine as a replacement, that's not working in your favor. Find the thing that brings you dopamine, find the thing that brings you joy, but in the end is going to make you a better person.
Like methamphetamines.
Like doing meth.
What Aaron's talking about is, don't work against the way your brain works, work with the way your brain works. And habits are things that happen, they're habits, they're habitual, they're automatic. Your brain is basically switching from I believe it's the prefrontal cortex, to a system that is working without any conscious thought or effort. What you can do is you can actually prevent that and hijack that by switching back to the prefrontal cortex. And you do this by being curious instead. This is actually, this alone has been proven to be a very effective way of quitting things like smoking or bad eating habits. All you do is you accept and notice the cue, the trigger, the craving. And rather than immediately acting on it, you notice it, you get curious about it. Being curious, this curiosity thing, it switches something in your brain, and you notice the tension, the physical sensations you might have. Just sort of listen to your mind, listen to your body, and notice how it's manifesting in yourself when you want that thing and you've got that desire. And what can often happen, as in the case with smokers, is they will be more mindful about the actual process. They'll actually even indulge in it. They'll smoke the cigarette and they'll notice, I taste this disgusting, awful flavor, and this is really gross. And this helps lead them to ending the habit altogether. Secret number 3 is set a new identity. Identity and behavior are closely linked. Think of a person, for instance, that you consider to be a healthy person, somebody with a healthy identity. You identify them by their behaviors, by the habits they have. So a person that's healthy would do things like maybe go to the gym regularly, or swim, bike, incorporate fitness into their regular life. They have habits that support that identity.
Lance Armstrong, one testicle.
In order to prevent bad eating habits, they're gonna prepare their meals one day of the week so that they have healthy foods and snacks to go to instead of reaching for the fast food if they're running out of time, things like that. So they've identified what they want to be and they've set the behaviors and habits in place. So for yourself, if you've got a bad habit that you want to stop, you need to let go of the self-limiting belief about yourself, the identity that might be thwarting your progress in this change. Going back to the idea of smoking again, perhaps you say to yourself, I have an addictive personality. You just named an identity that is limiting your ability to change. Or maybe you say, I'm a smoker. My parents smoked, my grandparents smoked, I grew up around it, I can't quit. You can actually change and decide for yourself what you want your identity to be and what you want your behaviors to be. And those things are cyclically linked. When you name the identity and you choose what behaviors fit that identity, you suddenly are that identity. You don't have to wait for this long roadmap of consistently doing something before you can finally prove to yourself that you are that thing.
You are that.
You simply choose now, who do I want to be? What are the behaviors of that person who is that? And just step into them, start being them, step into that identity.
It can be difficult. I know my own brain can be negative and analytical, and so I will state who I am, and I feel like there's a voice that comes right back that says, prove it, right? What can you do to prove it? Look at your life. You've not been that yet. So it's a challenge, and yet there's so much truth to many times in order to find success in stopping a habit, we need to believe that we have stopped it before we have in order to encounter that kind of success. And so it is possible, but it does require a little bit of effort to speak back to that voice and say, basically shut up, this is who I am.
And when you fail, because you're gonna have setbacks and you're gonna make mistakes and stumble, instead you just recalibrate. You learn from them. You go, okay, when this happened, I made this mistake, so I'm going to plan ahead for that in the future. And that's what what somebody does who has that identity. Going back to the idea of a person who would identify as healthy, they maybe every once in a while will cheat on their diet or miss a gym time, and what they will do is they'll go, okay, whenever I get into this situation, it causes me to skip out on my gym time or something like that. So you adjust as you go. Don't identify, I'm a failure, I can't do this. See, I knew I couldn't do it, and just give up. Instead say, I made a mistake, I'll adjust, and just keep moving.
The final and fourth secret is bring in accountability. This is something that's very personal to me as I have been wanting to grow and develop my life. I have really seen a lot of success in the last year, probably unlike any other time of my life. And when I think about what is the main difference now versus the last 20 years of trying, it is that I have been using accountability in a very meaningful way. So when it comes to my health, I have created a health journal where both my dad and I will put in each day's calories and all of that data, and it keeps me accountable to A, tracking what I'm eating, and then 2, being honest with myself in terms of my progress. But on the other end, since we're talking about stopping a bad habit, I've also introduced recently accountability in the negative sense. So there's certain habits that I want to stop that I just have not been able to kick for a long period of my life.
Methamphetamines?
The meth again, yes. Is that this video or last? I can't remember.
I don't even know.
There's a lot of meth going on right now. I realized, listen, I've been struggling with this for a long time. I need to get serious about what I'm willing to do to stop, right? How important is this to me? What am I willing to pay? And so what I decided to do is to say, hey, listen, if I, do this bad habit, basically I'm going to pay to your charity of choice $200. And if it happens, I'm gonna up the ante and it goes to 300 and 400, and basically until I finally stop. Because I do know there's gonna be a certain place in my life where I'm just like, it doesn't matter how much I want it, I'm not gonna pay $1,000 to make that mistake. And what has happened, it is phenomenal, is I have been 60 days bad habit free, but I don't even think about it anymore. It's not even something I think about as a possibility. Because I've just ruled out, hey, I'm not paying $200 for a bad habit. I can promise you, for my life, I would never have seen that kind of success unless I brought accountability into the picture.
So in the comments below, share your shameful secrets. What kind of bad habits do you have?
We want to grow as a family, and we can only do that when all the secrets have been laid out, all of them. Meth, just keep bringing that back in.
If you found this video in any way helpful, do us a favor and in the comments below write your social security number, your date of birth, and the last 4 digits of your credit card. Or you can just type secret. That works.
Or got it! Exclamation mark.
Get off my back. Got it. Help us help more people by getting the word out. Share our video with your friends. Share it on social media. We're on Instagram, Facebook, Bookface,
Twitter,
MySpace,
Blogspot,
LinkedIn,
Ask Jeeves,
Friendster, Napster,
Grindr,
Tinder, JDate,
and Bumble.
Tell everybody about the Glenn and Aaron Show.
On your next date, whisper it in their ear to make it even more effective.
Looking for a good habit? Watching our show is a good habit. If you really want to stop those bad habits, talking to you, nose picker.
Looking for a good time?
You need some nose candy? This guy knows how to get it.
There's also a lot of meth talk in this video.